Hey friends, Kristen Williams here with a fun Masterboard project. What is that, you ask? Well, do you have a lot of painted papers laying around? I do, and I like to glue them all together on a Masterboard and use them for card making, use the Masterboard for art journaling, and also in collages. Of course, I'm using my StencilGirl stencils. These are the ones I've picked out. I've got a 12 by 12 gel press plate, sprayers, and just an array of acrylic paints. My favorite paper is the cheap dollar store paper or just regular old copy paper. I'm going to tear these up, so I don't use cardstock at this stage. I just like painted papers that I can add a lot of color and a lot of texture to. And I'm showing you my favorite technique. I don't remember where I learned it. I did not invent it, but I saw it somewhere else. Regardless, I've got my 12 by 12 plate. I've got a couple of different colors of purple that I've squirted on there, probably way too much paint because that's what I do. And I'm going to spread this all around to be the bottom layer. And once I get it spread around with my brayer, I'm going to grab some stencils and fill this plate up with stencils. This technique works best. That one is probably a small stencil for this. It works best with some bigger holes because now I'm going to take my dollar store paper or my regular old copy paper, and I'm going to pick up the paint through those holes, rubbing hard to try to get all the paint up. Now remember, the purple is still underneath the plastic stencil and it stays wet because it's in between the two surfaces there. So I'm just picking up purple paint, and I'll use these pages too. These aren't wasted. I love to layer these gel prints. I don't like to just pull one and use it. Oh man, I'm going to add a couple of different layers and other colors and everything else on it. So here I am going back in, really working hard to get that paint through the stencil openings. Next, I'm going to grab a contrasting color of paint. This fluorescent red, woo, it's going to yell at that purple, but I like it. And I'm going to go back. Remember, the purple's underneath, hiding out underneath there. And I'm going to spread that red fluorescent paint into the openings that I just cleaned out with the paper. I'm putting these to the side carefully because there's still a lot of paint on the front and the back, and we're going to use that again. And here we come in to pick that goodness up. Looks like I had some green down hiding underneath there. The gloriousness of working with a dirty gel plate. Oh yeah. And again, I'm just looking for color and texture and pattern because these pages will be torn up eventually. Yeah, that just pops. Isn't that fun? And I like the white. Using that technique, it's not perfect, which I like. And I'm just going to go and pick the rest of that up. Hot mess, but it'll work. Now I'm coming back. Remember I said that the front and the backs of those stencils still have the purple paint and the red paint because I put too much paint on things. We don't want to waste it. So I'm bringing those back over to the plate, rearranging it, and taking my brayer, and we'll get a really good ghost print off of this limited paint. There's that green really popping out again. I like that. Yeah, that works. I'm going to speed this one up and show you that technique again, this time using teal and black. And remember, we put paint down on the plate, put a stencil on top of it, and then pick up the paint through the holes as best you can. And when you get those stencil openings cleared out, you're leaving that teal paint underneath your stencil, and I'm going in with black this time. So I made a bunch of papers. I'm going to flip through them really quickly. I'm sorting them by color because, as I said, we're going to tear these up and make a master board, and I kind of like to know what I'm working with. So I'm generally sorting them by color, or if I like the paper, if I want to use it. That one's good. Oh, I love that one. You can see I came back in with some smaller stencils and stenciled in a darker color on top of some of the prints I made, and that's something I generally always do. All right, masterboard time. We have cardstock and matte medium. I'm tearing up my pieces of paper, and we're going to glue these together onto the cardstock, overlapping each other with the matte medium, a brush, and the cardstock. Okay, we're putting the masterboard together, and I'm using matte medium. If you are not familiar with using wet medium with gluing paper, here's a way to avoid those buckles and bumps that you hate. The matte medium is going on every single dry surface. So on the back of the strips of paper, onto the masterboard cardstock, and then again on top. And I do this every time I glue paper. So you're gluing it 3 different times, matte medium on the back of the paper where you're going on the cardstock, and then again on top. Here's my completed masterboard, and I'm taking the matte medium and a brush, and I'm just going over it one more time, looking for little corners that might have picked up, any bumps and bubbles that missed me the first time around, and here it is. I'm going to make some cards when I cut up my masterboard, so I always stamp onto the paper rather than onto a completed card. If you're anything like me, you have messed up so many cards trying to stamp on top of a bulky card. So I've got these different sentiments on some of the papers that I painted, and I will tear these out when it comes time for the card making. So here's my masterboard completed to this point. It is dry, and now I'm going to take some black gesso or black paint and go back on top with a small stencil because I like the way it looks. I'll use a piece of black paper kind of as a frame for when I cut up this masterboard, and a little bit of black ties in with that, and I just like the way it looks. So I'm going to cut this up to the size of my mat for the cards, and I'm using black paper, and this is when I use the gel medium instead of matte medium. So I always open my card up because if you're anything like me, you have made some beautiful cards upside down. There is a piece of masterboard that I've cut out. Instead of using math, I just cut from the heart. What is that what the kids say these days? So I've got a piece of black paper that's going to be mounted onto the card, and then the masterboard on top of the black paper. I take my gel medium, and same thing, we're going to put it on the back of the piece of masterboard. We're going to put it on the black paper where the masterboard is going. And I will really push this down because gets pretty thick. That's why we're using the gel medium instead of the matte medium. And I'm going to go ahead and put it all over the black because you can tell if you get a little bit on there, so I might as well just cover it up. Pushing that down really hard with my fingers, and I don't wait till it dries. We're going to put some gel medium on the back of this black paper now. And onto the card. I'm going to grab a baby wipe and just clean up those edges. And I don't like big globs of matte medium. Finally going to attach my sentiment. Thank you so much for watching. Here are some of the cards that I made, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for being a StencilGirl customer, and I think in my information there is a coupon code if you would like to purchase any of my stencils. I appreciate you, and I appreciate StencilGirl, and have fun making those masterboards. Have a great day. Again, Kristin Williams, thank you so much.